Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. Thank you. After that open rolls, enjoy the video. If you could, give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Enjoy. Fast 10 came out in 2023 and it ran 2 hours, 20 minutes. I enjoy that the production house is called Original Film. And this is what, the 10th, 11th time that this franchise has done seemingly the same thing. Also, we are so original that we start 10 years in the past with Fast 5. That is definitely what I call original. Jason Momoa in the flashback looks so young. It kind of makes me think of Khal Drogo, what Jason Momoa looked like in Game of Thrones. The flashback is really making me want to put on Fast 5, since I know I enjoyed it. I also want to see how noticeable it is that they have been adding characters in, because the editing just, it feels so seamless. Flashbacks are for sure the better way to keep Brian O'Connor in the franchise. Much better than just saying he's babysitting or whatever they have been doing. It has felt really cheap for his character to be alive when we all know that Paul Walker died. It's been hard for me to get behind the idea of Brian being alive in the franchise, knowing that, Paul Walker's not alive in real life. When the movie enters the present day, Dom is teaching Brian, who he calls Little B, how to drive in a parking lot. And the kid feels too young to be doing this, but, since this movie is all about people on the run and folks who are on the wrong side of the law, maybe Dom feels like he has to start Little B early on the getaway driver gimmick. Every time the franchise has a family cookout and Brian isn't around, Paul Walker's Brian, but his wife is there, I get so irritated. I'd rather both of them be gone, since he can't be in the scene. I'll never understand why they didn't just have Brian fall off the cliff on that RV scene back, I don't know, what was it, 4 movies ago now at this point? The mission the family is talking about is in Rome, and will be led by Roman. They are set to steal a quantum computer chip. Boy, they've moved up to the big time from stealing DVD players back in, 1999? It just doesn't feel right how this franchise has gone from street racing to international espionage, almost, maybe. They all seem like they want to be, I don't know, not quite James Bond, because they're not discreet, but they want to be a big deal. The night before the mission, Dom and Letty are having a deep conversation about Dom's fear of losing his son and his wife. And outside the house, we see a beautiful product placement when a modern-day DeLorean drives up to the house and out steps someone bleeding, possibly to death. Although in this franchise, nobody ever is really truly dead, except for the guy who's actually dead, but his character's not dead. Super weird. But the character who's bleeding is Cypher, who's played by Charlize Theron. Cypher recounts the story of how she got so messed up. If young, fit Jason Momoa was enjoyable, this current, older, heavier Jason Momoa is freaking priceless. He literally tells Cypher, never accept death when suffering is owed. That's one great line. It is so smooth how Jason's character took control of all of Cypher's team. Well, all except one, who he kills, since that guy had nothing, not even a cat or a dog, nothing to take to get him to turn on his boss. And the character later to be revealed as Dante Reyes, Jason Momoa's character, says, "You want to control the world, I just want to punish it." This guy is great with putting out money lines throughout the film. Cypher had such a crazy escape from her own crew. It was a super fun sequence. Scott Eastwood pops into Dom's house to figure out what is up with the Cypher stuff. And when Scott Eastwood is asked about the mission that the team is on, because, Dom and Letty know that Roman is running a mission in Rome, Scott Eastwood is confused. He's like, I didn't send your boys on a mission. And that's when everybody realizes that the Rome mission is actually the Rome trap. So Dante is having so much fun when the team is in Rome. When the team in Rome find out that the truck they thought was that they were hijacking to get a quantum computer chip actually is just one huge rolling bomb, they freak out. 30 minutes in, and this legitimately feels like one of the better Fast and Furious movies in, I don't know, years. Which, maybe it's because Brian, Paul Walker's character, had good placement, or maybe it's because the villain is just so good. I'm not sure, but it's nice to have a very smart villain in Dante who set the trap just to show the world that the team are international terrorists, just like he sees them. Dom, protecting the police from the exploding bombs, feels off. Him protecting civilians is understandable, but protecting the Rome police is crazy to me. Because when I think of Dom, I think of, an outlaw, basically. How and or why exactly are all of the cops instantly and only after Dom and his crew? If I was one of these Rome cops, I think I'd believe that Dante was with them, especially when visually it looks like Letty and Dom are basically going the same way. Both of them on motorcycles, but hey, whatever. I guess they don't have to make it make sense. Seems like for every positive, here comes a negative. So positive, Dante is fun. Negative, Dom outdriving a bomb exploding both is unrealistic and also, a little nuts. The news all gets the same talking point quick, which upon completion of the movie actually feels more understandable given that the government agency that the team had been helping for, I don't know, a bunch of movies, is now against them. Is that agency the Central Intelligence Agency? Not too sure really, but anyway, the government is probably how that the news all got the same memo. Or maybe it was just lazy producers of the show going on social media. Not calling anybody out, but it feels like that was pretty common when I worked in the news. I will say this, no matter how the world turned on the team, it does feel right for them to be outlaws once again. Really witty writing when the team are compared to a cult, but with cars. I thought that was fun. The agency tries to get Dom's son from the house, and Super Cena shows up to protect Little B. Jacob, John Cena, hit an attitude adjustment on the or while on the second story of the house, and then sends this agent dude through the floor. Either he has superpowers or that house is in really rough shape. Mia, Dom and Jacob's sister, tells Cena to protect little Brian with his life, which instantly makes me think that he's dying on said mission. I don't know, it just feels like an eerie thing to tell somebody. Protect them with your life. Okay, I'm pretty sure you're going to be giving your life here. We meet Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody's daughter, who's played by Brie Larson. Her name is Tess. She reveals to Dom that Jason Momoa's name is Dante Reyes, the son of Hernan Reyes. Dom knows he must go to Rio to stop this revenge cycle. I am sort of getting irritated when seeing how good Jacob is at being good, since when he debuted, he was bad, and it just seems like such a waste of John Cena in that prior film, introducing him as a bad guy when he's so good at being a good guy. In Rio, the movie finally starts to get to that original territory where Dom is coming to a street race. I even think this might be the exact place where Dominic Toretto asked Luke Hobbs if he feels in charge in Fast Five when Hobbs tries to arrest Dom, and all the good stuff happens from that point on. Every time the movie shows Dante Reyes, or Jason Momoa, he just gets weirder, and at home in Rio, Dante has turned the strange up to 100. It isn't just how he speaks or how he acts, but just even how things are phrased is strange. He calls his pops a very bad daddy, which is puzzling since he's also doing all of this damage to the team for revenge for his dad, who he acknowledges was a very bad daddy. I don't know, it just puzzles me. Dante challenges Dom to a race. I like that we're getting, Dante and Dom doing what the franchise started doing, which is racing. Dante has spent 10 years planning this revenge. I'm sure that this race isn't without something up his sleeve. And Dante even blows a kiss to Dom before they start the race. A little bit of mind games, I assume. Dante is such a enjoyable villain. He placed explosives under all the other cars that are racing except his own and Dom's, and tells Dom that he has to choose who lives and who dies in this race. Dom saves the girl that is in the race, and it's later revealed there was a specific reason why he chose to save her. Since basically no one of consequence ever dies in this franchise, it's hard to care about this race, or specifically people dying in the race, because it just lays out how basically unimportant they must be if they're allowed to die. The dude from the Amazon show Reacher and the Max show Titans, Ames, is basically the Hobbs of this film. And he even lays out how Dom and his family are notorious for turning cops to the outlaw side, which fits well with what Brandon said about Fast and Furious being pro wrestling, but with cars, and how heels turn babyface and babyfaces turn heel. Anytime I think we've seen just as bad as Dante can get, he gets even worse. Dante is hanging out with a couple of corpses, and he's explaining his view to them while he's talking to the corpses, and it's really weird that he has these two dead dudes and he's laying out that he died for 2 minutes back in Fast Five, and he cracked his skull. I guess this is just a way to explain to the audience why he's so weird, while making him weird in the scene. I'm not sure exactly, but I don't know. Roman is so frustrated while he and the boys are on the run. Tez says, we got heisted on our own heist, which I thought was fun. Speaking of things that are fun and also enjoyable, Rome doesn't use banks. He traveled with his money taped to his body. I literally laughed out loud about just the ludicrousness of it all, which is also funny thinking about it because Ludacris is Tez. The girl Dom saved in the race from the bomb was Little B's aunt, or Little Brian's aunt. So Elena's sister. I never caught her name, but Dom had to save his family, and since the girl was Elena's sister, la-di-da, save the family. Elena tells Dom that, the sister tells Dom that Elena had files on all of the Reyes crew, so they do research on Dante, which is nice. Maybe the research will lead to them cheating death in some way down the line, since that's what we do in this franchise. The crew is in London, and Ramsey takes them to Pete Davidson, who is a fence, so a guy who sells or buys and sells stolen junk. She knew him before she turned to the hero side of the game. Tez calls Roman the Black Jeff Bezos, and it's, because of all the money that he's got on his body. Han is tripping on some weird muffin that was laced with drugs in the internet cafe that Pete Davidson runs. While Tez and Roman are fighting, Ramsey sees that Pete Davidson can't be trusted because he turned them in for the reward because they're all now labeled terrorists. Back in Rio, and Ames, the guy from Reacher and Titans, he's in an alley fight that he wins easily. Very much reminds me of the introduction of Luke Combs, and not in a good way. It just seems like this guy, Ames, is a retread character. While Jacob and Little Brian are on the run, we see them on a plane, and this plane escape that they do it's just so ridiculous. Things in this franchise just don't make sense. Driving a car in space and just jumping out of planes, and none of it, I don't get it. I knew Jacob was previously with Cypher, but now that he's on the babyface side, how did he get all this stuff planned out to pull off? It just takes me out of it. Han and Shaw have an obligatory fight, just like Cypher and Letty did. Only this one takes up way less time because, boom, enter the agency. Still not sure if it's a Central Intelligence Agency or some other, ambiguous agency. And because the agency shows up, Han and Shaw get on the same side, just like, everybody knew that they would. Predictability and repetitive nature of this thing. One nice twist is the information Dom and his baby mama's sister discover sent him into a trap. So that's nice that it wasn't just easy peasy for Dom. Dom played right into Dante's hand and got arrested for falling for the trap. Dom is warning his captors that they need to strap into the vehicle that he's locked up in. And I don't even understand how Dom knew that the place or the vehicle was going to get blown up, but he predicted it, and it does get blown up. When we see that Letty and Cypher are being held at a base in Antarctica, which is pretty nuts, I suppose after driving a car into space and stealing a nuclear submarine, nothing is off limits, so I'm sure they'll be fine in Antarctica. When Shaw finds out his mom is on the agency's hit list because she's been associated with Dom and crew, it completely changes his perspective, which is understandable, and he is now fully on board to help the team of outlaws. It is ironic that earlier Ames claimed that Dom corrupts cops, but after Dante attacked the police convoy, Ames gives Dom a gun so he can protect himself, as if that to reveal it isn't Dom that corrupts the cops, but the fact that the cops are actually making the right decision, which to some degree I can see when it comes to Brian saying, "Hey, I owed you," and tossing Dom the keys, and in the case of Lou Cobbs teaming up with the Outlaws, they always do their best to make it make sense. To me, it seems as though that the Dante character was designed to be the internet troll but come to life, because he dogs the franchise like people make fun of Nickelback on the internet. And they made Dante basically a sarcastic. Well, his approach to Dom and his family is always sarcastic, and he's just so antagonistic, but it's in a fun way. After shooting Brie Larson's Tess, Dante gets the God's Eye spy tech and knows where to find little Brian so Dom can lose his son like Dante lost his father. It feels like the end is near when Dante finds Little B and Jacob. He calls Cena Uncle Muscles, and that is just a very entertaining but also appropriate nickname. The car Uncle Muscles is driving has cannons built onto it, as if the franchise just had to get more wacky. But yeah, little Brian is manning the cannons as Jacob is driving. When one cannon clogs, little Brian climbs on the cannon and stuffs his hand down in the thing to get it undone. And when he gets the cannon ready to go, then Dante grabs him. While this is happening, Dom has the government folks drop him and his muscle car out of the sky, and it crashes into a car as if that his vehicle is some sort of magic and can just drive after crushing another car. I'm telling you, like, the thing about this thing is sometimes it does enjoyable stuff and sometimes it does such ludicrous stuff. I'm like, ugh, you're pulling me out, pal. After Dante grabs Brian, Jacob sacrifices himself to allow Dom the ability to be able to get his son back. But instead of me believing he's dead, I just notate that this is going to be a hard scene to wipe away like they've done with previous deaths in the franchise. But people actually being dead when the star is living, I don't think so. You won't even let a character be gone when the actor is gone. Even with it being totally unrealistic, I like seeing little Brian jump from Dante's car to Dom's car, with the misimpression he'd be safe. But nope, he isn't safe, because Dante has two Optimus Primes ready to crush Dom and little Brian. And by that I mean semi-tractor trailers, but I just had to say the two Optimus Primes because I thought that was funny. However, instead of Dom driving or getting crushed by the two Optimus Primes, he drives down a dam, which again is just so. What are they even thinking? And now they're cheating death once again by having Dominic Toretto drive faster than explosions from this thing. I don't get it. I ask myself, are they really setting up that everyone dies in this, even though I know that it's been revealed they're going to do a 11th and a 12th film? So there's one good twist at the end where Ames isn't actually on the side of Dom and crew. He's on the side of Dante when he takes a plane that is flying in Dom's crew. And, Gal Gadot's character of Giselle returns from the dead to save Letty and Cypher. In a post-credit scene, we see that The Rock's Luke Hobbs will be back in the franchise. So maybe Giselle and Hobbs, they warned the old agency guy, Mr. Nobody, about Ames, or maybe there's just got to be some excuse coming. But my problem is that it requires excuses and this trickery. So in the end, I just land straight in the middle. Gave this thing a 3 out of 5. While it's not terrible, it's definitely not good. It's just fine. Thanks for tuning in to this current critique of Fast X, Fast 10, The Fast and Furious that'll never end. Come back tomorrow for trivia and Thursday for trivia. See you Friday for a long form video. Enjoy.